Watch what you bet with that betting show. The Heat making that playoff push, going to take on the Celtics in Boston. 212.5 over/under. Celtics are favored by 7. Moneyline split plus 250, minus 300. 7:30 tonight, live from the TD Bank Garden in Boston. Heat are 40-34 against the spread in all line games, Teddy. But how about the underdog numbers here for the Heat? 24-14 against the spread as a dog, and 18-8, Teddy, on the road as a dog. Taking a look at the Celtics, they're money burners a little bit for most of the year, 35-40 against the number, but 20-16 against the spread at home as a favorite.
Although, I mean, when you look at spots, it certainly feels like a spot where, in theory, the Celtics are supposed to show up. They didn't show up on the second of back-to-backs against the Nets over the weekend. You know, the quote's from Brad Stevens: "We haven't been great at times. If we're going to make it anywhere significant, they've all got to matter." Talking about the game of the Nets. I didn't think anyone was on their A game. We all need to get better. Marcus Morris. This is not a bet on quote, in my opinion. Quote, "Everyone is going to doubt us because of the year we've had. When the playoffs hit, it's basically a new season. We still have a chance to turn this thing around." Everything for Boston's about next week. You know, Miami's playing for this week. Certainly, they eked one out against the Knicks over the weekend, outscored them 21-13 in the fourth to break open a tie game. And as you mentioned, very successful underdogs this season. Not once, not twice, consistently. They've matched up pretty well with the Celtics, though the Celtics should have some of their key guys back in the lineup tonight, most specifically Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, both of whom missed the loss against the Nets over the weekend, expected to be back in the lineup here. Worth noting, these two teams do play again later in the week. When we talk about these short turnaround rematch situations, the winner of the first isn't too good ATS in the second. Something worth noting as the week progresses and you look at the rematch when the Heat play the Celtics.
Teddy, Cubs and the Braves going to battle in Atlanta tonight. You saw Atlanta come out of that Philly series 0-3. Saw the Cubs go down to Texas in interleague play to start the season, which was interesting, and they come away 1-2. Going to take a look at Kyle Hendricks and Sean Newcomb on the mounds tonight. Now, look, we can't go and say, hey, there's a lot of information to have. You know, batters have only had 15 to 20 at-bats. These pitchers are getting their first starts on the mound. But it does seem like an interesting spot for the Braves. I know it's a long baseball season, but nobody wants to get off the schneid 0-4, 0-5, especially for a team that won the division the previous year. Big night tonight for Atlanta, but hey, it's April baseball. Anything goes.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Cubs just scored 28 runs in 3 games in Texas and lost 2 out of 3. You know, they lost yesterday in a walk-off wild pitch. So, of course, what are the markets going to do? They're going to focus on the starting pitching matchup. When you hear my analysis on a day-in, day-out basis, by and large, I might touch on the starting pitching. Certainly going to explain a lot of the line moves when it comes to starting pitching. My focus in MLB is always on lineups and bullpens. In my opinion, those are the factors that are least valued in the betting markets. The starting pitching valued a little bit much when it comes, a little bit too much, in my opinion, when it comes to MLB. This is a Cubs team. The bullpen is a disaster right now. I don't trust Kyle Hendricks in any way, shape, or form. You know, he threw a career high in innings last year. Admittedly, the strikeout to walk ratio was there. He ate up the innings. He performed well. I don't love Kyle Hendricks as my, as a shutdown starter, and I certainly don't trust that Cubs bullpen behind him at all right now. And here's Newcomb on the other side, Sean Newcomb, who, had control problems throughout spring training. The one thing that Cubs lineup is they are patient. Braves, too, are trending over the total in early season action. No surprise here that this game's end up being a relatively high-scoring affair. Cubs trending over, Braves trending over. That's what we like to see in early action. I want those streaks to ride, and this has the potential to be one of them. I do like Cubs and Braves over the total tonight.
Final Four still a couple days away, Teddy. Final Four, the NIT, still at least 1 day away. Don't forget about the CBI. And also, Teddy, don't forget that the CBI also has a 3-game tournament here. DePaul, USF, -1.5 total. 151.5 moneyline split, plus 105, -125. Live from the Yuengling Center in Tampa, Florida. DePaul is 15-17 against the number in all line games. 8-9 against the spread as a dog. USF, 20-13 against the spread in all line games. 11-9 against the spread as a favorite. And 11-10 in all home games. Don't forget the CBI, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to forget it at all. These are, of course, former conference rivals in 2 different conferences. They played together in Conference USA. They played together in the Big East. Last time they were obviously conference mates was 2013. So it's certainly a history between these two programs, even though there's no recent history between these two programs. I like the looks of this DePaul team here in the postseason. You look at their defensive numbers, they're not going to wow the betting markets. That's certainly reflected in the point spread for this game tonight because their defensive numbers aren't any good. It's a senior-laden squad, and their offense is just killing it. They scored 90 points in 6 of their last 7 ball games. And when you have a senior-laden squad that has a bunch of different scorers, that tends to bode well in the underdog role. Worth noting for USF, hey, they get to play in the championship game, but they also have to pay the guys that own the CBI $80,000 to do it, guaranteed, plus give them all the gate for tonight's receipts. So it's not a money-making venue for the schools that are hosting the CBI. It should be an interesting game. It should be an interesting series. Initial lean, DePaul plus the points, opposed to USF minus.